Hello again, friends, and thank you for joining us on my porch, where I am joined by
Matt Kusek. Hey
Matt
guys.
Kusek. Is not only a wonderful person to chat with, but he's extremely generous because he has brought us this Single Cask Nation MGP 12-year-old Indiana light whiskey. And as you guys may or may not know, the wonderful thing about Single Cask Nation is that they provide an incredible amount of information, so you can see all that wonderful detail that we got about exactly what this is right there on the side of the bottle. Where'd you get this, man?
So I got this at Vinny's. The recommendation of my good friend Jody. Jody, hi. And
Jody.
then she's an amazing whiskey person. She just has a great palate. We kind of jive together. And I was really torn on this one, actually. This is this kind of goes against my whiskey buying ethos.
Which is?
I like big brands.
Okay.
I like big brands. Not only, but I like big brands because of the promise of quality. I know that if I like something from brand X, I can go back and get it again and again. And
Fair
again.
enough.
But I've heard so many good things, and I appreciated the transparency of what Single Cask. It's literally in the name.
Yeah.
Single Cask. That's it. It's only one thing.
Right.
And it's got all the information on the side as you just showed.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the honesty. We were talking a little bit off camera about malicious marketing, and there's another video out there where we talked about another big name
Yeah.
in the whiskey
Some
world.
chicanery.
And, here's the other thing I got a problem with is there's a lot of young brands out there that are passing off MGP stuff. Yet they're right here. Hey, it's MGP.
Right.
It's straight up MGP. If you want some MGP at a decent price,
And
let's do it.
Let's be honest. MGP is a great distillery. They're a huge professional distillery. They were part of the Seagram's portfolio. They passed through a number of hands before being taken over by Midwest Grain Products, which is what MGP stands for. But something I should tell you about these guys, and it was we were just chatting a minute ago that you weren't aware of. You can see they're bottled by Jewish Whiskey Company. Now, who is Jewish Whiskey Company? Well, they are my very good friends, Jason Johnson Yellen, who's Scottish, and Joshua Hatton, who's American. And these two guys are both of the Jewish faith. And they said, we'd love to address the niche of the niche of the niche, which is kosher whiskey. But there's no uniformly accepted definition of kosher whiskey. And so they said, we'll just provide you all the details, all the transparency. You can take that to your rabbi or your spiritual advisor or whoever makes that determination for you, and you guys can figure it out yourselves if that meets your definition of kosher. And so as a consequence of that, even those of us not of the Jewish faith are blessed with this wonderful whiskey that has all this detail about it. So
I also didn't know if I was allowed to partake because I'm not a member of the tribe. But I'm so
you know
glad
what?
that
They
did
are
this.
they are about the nicest people I know in whiskey, and that's a category that has a lot of competition.
So you've announced your bias.
No,
No, just kidding. I'm
No,
just
look,
kidding.
I mean, I've reviewed their whiskey. I've never had a poor whiskey from them, but I've had some that were just okay, and I've reviewed them as such, and they keep being very generous with me. So this is, I'm just going to read this to you. This is distilled at MGP, which is in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, aged 12 years in refill American oak. Batch 2, distilled June 2006, bottled March 2019. This is one of 456 barrels. Now, pop quiz, Matt. You're like, ooh, you ready?
Okay.
What is the difference between bourbon whiskey and light whiskey?
No, see, now I was going to ask you that question because I've never heard the term light whiskey.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is a remnant of the bad old days, and by the bad old days I mean the 1960s, 1970s. So as we talked before about on one of my videos, fashions were changing. The younger generation was ascendant, and they didn't want, whiskey was something that your granddad drank, right? It was outmoded. They wanted light spirits. They wanted vodka. They wanted stuff that was not quite as heavy and as dense. And so as a consequence, the whiskey industry decided to pivot. They said, okay, we got to figure out a way to make a lighter style of whiskey. Still has to be aged in a barrel, but like, what can we do? What levers can we pull? And so if you notice, this is aged in refill American oak, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, that caught my ear. That perked my ear up when you read it. I was like, so refilled, so no longer bourbon.
So bourbon whiskey has to be new charred American oak.
Correct.
This can be, most likely, I would guess, an ex-bourbon cask that they've refilled. And the idea was to have a lighter style whiskey with also a shorter aging period. Now this sat there for a really long time, right? So this is 12 years old, which is, not the spirit when you were making, no pun intended, not the spirit when you were making light whiskey was to get this stuff churned
Right.
fast out the door.
Breaking out.
So
Do you think it was bourbon? Might have been. So what do you get on the nose?
are you asking if the cask was bourbon or if this was like a bourbon mash
If
bill?
the reused cask. What did it say for the reused cask?
Yeah, it's a refill American oak. So it would have usually when you see refill American oak, it's in the context of Scotch whiskey, where they've sent a bourbon cask over to Scotland for use in maturing Scotch whiskey, which is not matured in new oak. But yeah, I would guess it was probably they distilled some bourbon, had the cask around, and were.
And the reason I'm asking all these questions, and we're finally going to get into the nose and the tasting and all that, is this has one of the most unique noses that I've probably sampled this year. And on the nose, for me, it's a little bit of orange peel.
I get that too.
And this is the first whiskey where I start to think of, we talk about mouthfeel in whiskey.
Yes.
This is one of the first times I'm going to talk about nose feel. Like, the smell just comes up so thick. It might be the type of
very,
glass.
very aromatic. Yeah, you get this wave that creeps up like the top part of your nostrils and into the back of your mouth. It's,
I almost would have sworn it was a rye to
well, I'll tell you what. MGP is known for its rye. We've got no disclosure about the mash bill on this. We could ask Jason and Joshua about if they know.
It sounds like you got the connections.
No, look, honestly, like I've never done business with those guys other than to buy their bottles off the shelf, and they've sent me a couple samples in the mail. But they're honestly just the nicest people.
Kudos on the glass. Show everybody the topper.
Oh yeah, check this out.
One of our earlier videos, we were talking about cork.
Boom, glass stopper, class.
This is a bottle you could kind of keep and refill.
The one downside somebody pointed out is that once you crack the wax is a beautiful closure, but once you crack it, it looks gnarly AF. So you got that kind of going on. That beautiful swirl there. You can see these are
on the gold wax there.
Yeah, no, this is a beautiful presentation, and like I said, I've got a lot of affection and a lot of respect for these guys, but it's not going to taint my evaluation of this whiskey. So here we go.
Well, and I will happily say, you guys probably heard me being a skeptic in the beginning. I'm absolutely loving it on the way down.
So that's interesting. Do you think MGP's reputation has been enhanced or tarred by the fact that you've had craft distillers do like what we talked about, where they front of the bottle says, "My granddad's old recipe, handcrafted, family made, this and that and the other," and then on the back, in tiny little print on the back, it says, "Distilled in Lawrenceburg, Indiana."
So I have purposely stayed away from MGPs. Purposely. This might be maybe the first or second time. If I've had MGP before, it would be unknowingly.
Is that inclusive of the MGP that MGP distills itself? So like George Remus, for example?
So I also, oh wow, I'm going to get all kinds of bad rep. I refuse to buy Remus.
Okay.
That's a bad brand name. We'll get into that in another video.
In terms of the association with organized crime and
organized crime, the first guy to kill his wife, first ever insanity plea, just straight up shot her in the park. Like,
really?
I don't know if that's the guy.
What is an insanity plea for that? Like, she was driving me nuts. Like, what is that?
Well, I guess the story was, and I might be paraphrasing, so feel free to correct us in the comments, everyone. He went to jail. While he's in jail, she shacks up with another man. He gets out of jail. He's awaiting trial. Chases her down. I don't know if it was a real cab at the time or like horse and buggy type carriage, but finds her in a park and he's mad. He's raging with jealousy because another man has took his woman and they're spending his money and shoots her.
Classified as crime of passion, or I guess in this case, a successful insanity plea.
And he got away with it because it worked. Temporary insanity. That was the first ever. So for those reasons, I've not had MGP. And I'm just sharing that because I'm weird that way. And that's how I justify my bourbon purchases.
How many criminals are whiskeys named after? So you've got John Fitzgerald of Old Fitzgerald fame, and is also indirectly the namesake of larceny, which is.
However, he was a government guy, so it's always legal if the government does the crime. Right?
Oh, man. And we're going to find out the hard way.
Yeah.
You really do want some hateful comments on this.
Hey, I'm sitting firmly in the middle on this one.
So look,
so sorry, Single Cask Nation, but on the way down, this is incredible. I don't think so. I don't think I'm biased, inclined to like MGP. I like the way on the way down. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. It's borderline medicinal on the way down.
Yeah, it does have a bit of that. I'll tell you what. So I've previously reviewed the 25-year-old Lawrenceburg Light Whiskey, which was then owned by Seagram's. It was the Joe Z. Seagram Lawrenceburg plant, and that was one of my favorite whiskeys I've ever had. It had a lot in common with this. So on the nose, I'm getting like a Caro syrup, like you might use to make a nice pecan pie. I mean, that one is like dessert in a glass. This one is still a little bit more youthful, a little bit more punchy. There is that, and so a note that is distinct to MGP that some people like, some people dislike with a passion. It's almost like cilantro or one of those things, but it is.
It's either so or it's not.
It's dill, right? So dill, like a dill pickle, and it can get pushed so far in one direction. Where I had a Willet whiskey that had so much. I assumed it was sourced from MGP because it was like sticking your head in a pickle barrel and taking a gulp. Yeah. It was unpleasant. And look, there's not a lot of whiskeys I won't finish.
Right.
I actually gave it to my downstairs neighbor because his last name is Willett.
Okay.
I was like, just wash this bottle out and use it for whatever you want.
Yeah.
But it was no bueno.
So Eastern European background. My dad makes soup almost every other day, and just loved parsley and dill. So I grew up hating parsley and dill.
Really?
And that might be the note that's holding me back from absolutely.
It's there on the nose, and this is definitely there on the finish. Like there is. If you gave this to me blind, I'm sufficiently arrogant to think that I would have come up with MGP as the source of that, purely based on that telltale
that note, right? And I haven't had enough MGP to know that note. It's. I personally bought this bottle.
If you don't mind
I'm
me
not
asking,
mad about it.
what did they hit you for this guy?
I want to say it might have been around either between $70 to $100. I bought this about a year ago.
Okay.
And I've been waiting for the right opportunity to buy it, just because, or to crack it open. Because obviously, with all the rage about MGP products and MGP sourcing, hey, let's try some.
Get a real MGP that says MGP on it because it's MGP.
They actually,
Imagine that.
No, transparency.
And look, I'll tell you. So this is 51.3% ABV.
Which is right in my wheelhouse.
Single Cask Nation, I find most of the whiskeys I get from them, if you took the age and multiplied by 10, that's about the retail price. And I don't know if that's mathematical related to the yield or whatever, but that tends to be the rule of thumb. So if this is 12 years old, I guess it's light whiskey, not. A fun fact about Single Cask Nation: they are the only people to have ever bottled a wild turkey single barrel at barrel proof.
That's right, because Kentucky Spirit has to be
is what 101.
101.
And the Russell's Reserve single barrels, even the store picks, come to us at 55% ABV, so 110.
Yep.
But they were able to bottle a couple. And again, back to needing to do things the kosher way.
Yeah.
They said we don't want to adulterate this. We don't want to, this is for this limited segment of the market that cares about this stuff. So let's do it this way. And I guess they were able to get the Russells and Campari to agree. So I mean, those were great whiskeys as well. I enjoyed those. They were just. I asked them. I said, I'm doing a big wild turkey thing. Can you help me out? And they shot some samples in the mail. So Jason and Joshua, you guys are the best. They have a great podcast, by the way.
Cool.
One Nation Under Whiskey. Please check it out.
I will.
If you guys have not heard of it, it is, and they get some phenomenal interviews. They interviewed Eddie Russell. They get some great people on there.
How are you liking the finish?
Yeah, so you get that dill note, and then there's a more of like a creamy vanilla wave, but then it kind of fades quickly. I don't know. I've tasted so much of this whiskey and others that
You're MGP'd out?
no, not like in life, like today. My palate acuity is probably in the low ebb. And this was something I talked about before. Like, I do not typically sit down and taste 6 or 12 or 24 whiskeys at a time. Like, I will taste one or two, and because I really do, like, I enjoy the depth of analysis. I want to show
As
respect
I go
to
back for more, that shows my
fine,
score.
whatever. It's getting chilled out, though, man.
Yeah, it is.
This is very, like, from a medicinal perspective, this is needed because it's.
As you can tell, I drank more than him because I don't have the hoodie on.
Got to stay warm somehow, man. So no, look. I would if you like the MGP whiskey that you've had that has been sourced from them by others, and you want to taste something that is. Now this was you said what was it $80 or $90 a bottle?
I believe it was somewhere between 70 and 100.
So
because I rarely ever go above 100. By the way,
that
I will
so
never.
seems like a financially sound plan. I should adopt that. But how?
It's true.
So
Although I did buy the latest Master's Keep.
Did you, the bottle and bond?
So good.
It is.
Yeah.
I really I've not liked a lot of the Master's Keep. I like Revival and not much else.
Yeah.
But Lord Almighty, that bottle and bond is awesome whiskey.
And for something when you talk about and I enjoy stories that's holistic, right? Like the same way that this is a great bottle, that's a great design bottle. The packaging is great. So you pay a little bit for everything.
Well, so it's funny, right? But
like if I was just drinking in my basement, I totally get it. Like I don't care about what the bottle looks like.
People push back and they're like, "Oh, it's like a fancy bottle, whatever." And there's like, okay, there's fancy bottles that are like so Blood Oath fits into this category for me. Angel's Envy fits into this category for me. They're fancy. They're fancy to distract, I guess would be the word, from whatever else is going on in the bottle. But like, it's better to produce something aesthetically appealing than something ugly. Like, why would you?
Do you like Angel's Envy rye?
I don't know that I've had it.
Oh.
Next time.
There we go.
All
right. So.
And to be fair, Blood Oath I actually didn't like the whiskey. I thought it was like it would have been a weak Evan Williams 1783, which is what it was.
Well, and I really think guys like you and Kerry Bosak from Suburbia, because your honesty around Blood Oath has saved me so much money, because that was something that, and the Blood Oath almost looks like the Orphan series.
It does, yeah. The rhetoric,
almost
or
identical.
whatever those. Yeah. I don't. Is that also Luxo product?
No, the Orphan series is Diageo.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. So look, you can't make a whiskey better by having a fancy bottle around it. But all things being equal, if I had great whiskey, if I knew I was getting great whiskey in a bottle, would I like a nicely packaged fancy bottle? Like the kings of this for me are Japan. The Japanese whiskeys are so elegantly presented, like the Yamazaki 18-year-old with that black label with the gold kanji, or the Hibiki bottle with all the facets, and some of the older ones are really works of art. So if you can, and also, by the way, just like I think whiskey labeling is a treasury of bad design. Like there's so much. I'm amazed. I see like typos on there now. Somebody reused the same word 3 times in 2 sentences. Like it was just, please, if you are designing a whiskey label and you need an editor, I will provide my services nearly free of charge.
Or just be transparent, like Single Cask Nation.
That's it. As long as the info's on there, I really do not
exactly.
care. But
I'll tell you this: I'm a fan of what they're doing, and I'm a fan of this. I think if I was going to rate it, it's be like a low 7, high 6.
I was gonna say 6 for me. Yeah. It's cool to try. It's cool to taste.
Casual first try for me.
I don't know that I would like put down an entire bottle of this necessarily. Like I would, if I had the rest of this, I would be distributing it as samples to others, because it's very educational. And if you've had MGP that has been sourced by somebody else or even from themselves, like George Remus, but you wanted to taste like what else goes on at MGP, like here's a great example.
And for me, and the reason that I kind of gave it is I don't know if you're a fan. Are you a fan of the kind of magician trick that some bourbons do, where the nose is completely different than the actual taste?
As long as both are good in different ways,
okay.
That can be a positive surprise. What I find more often is that the nose is so appealing and so wonderful, and I can't wait to start tasting the thing, and then the palate just falls completely flat.
Yeah, we did a barrel pick at the distillery. We named it Love at First Sniff, because we all just fell in love.
Yeah.
But for me, the finish wasn't there, but the rest of the group liked it. So, and the reason I bring that up is because for this whiskey, the nose and the taste and the finish are all pretty much consistent.
There is consistency throughout.
There's no surprises here.
No, it doesn't tack in some completely weird direction where it gets in the mouth and you're like, oh God, where did that note come from? Or alternately having that note on the nose.
And I went back for seconds. So where would you score it? Don't let me influence you.
No. Yeah. I would have gone. You said you paid $70 for this?
Yeah.
I would have gone to 6, 7. I don't know what.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
And by the way, 5 on the 0 through 10 scale, or the 1 through 10 scale is not the equivalent of a 50 from somebody else. 5 is if I went to the store and paid retail price for a bottle of this, and I came home and I said, this is good, that would be a 5, right? It is
not regret
bang average whiskey.
Yeah.
No, and nor should you. It is really great. It's fascinating. Again, if only for the transparency, but also because they're just super nice folks. Single Cask Nation is worthy of your time, attention, indulgence, patronage, custom. I don't know what you want to call it, but check those guys out. Check their podcast out. And hey, man, this was a great time.
Yeah, let's do it again.
This was. We're trying to be socially distanced and appropriate. I apologize if the wind has been an issue here, but we're trying to do things the right way. And speaking of people doing things the right way, Single Cask Nation, Matt Kusek, and we'll see you next time. But as always, just ending on a note of extreme gratitude for people's time, patience, attention, and cheers to you guys for that.
Cheers.